Tonight on NewsNation Prime, with just 65 days until Inauguration Day, President-elect Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson are in Mar-a-Lago finalizing their plans for America's future, with Republicans in complete control come January. We're breaking down the president-elect's vision as well as his growing cabinet.
Live from NewsNation headquarters, this is NewsNation Prime.
Many changes expected on the horizon. For more, we're welcoming in our political panel tonight. We have Republican strategist Matt Klink and Scott Bolden, NewsNation political contributor and former chair of the Washington, D.C. Democratic Party. Welcome both gentlemen, and there's a lot to talk about. Scott, why don't we start with you? Let's talk about the meeting between Xi Jinping and Biden today, this final meeting. What do you think Xi Jinping is preparing for, given Trump's tough talk on the campaign trail, already tapping Senator Marco Rubio, as we've seen as Secretary of State?
Well, the big white elephant in the room was Donald Trump, because he's the future in the United States as the president. I think that these meetings between China and the U.S., they exchange these pleasantries, they exchange constructive discussions about wanting a better relationship, but they disagree. And China is an instigator, whether it's on the military side or building in the China Sea, they are instigating. And yet their economy is largely dependent on trade with the U.S. You remember, Trump's put in tariffs on China, and Biden has kept those tariffs in place. The real question for China and the U.S. under Trump's administration is, which country has the best appetite or an appetite for a trade war? Will he increase to 60% those tariffs? And then what will China do? That's the thing to watch here. But, you know, Donald Trump was elected by the majority of Americans. He said he's going to get tough on China. We voted for him, or the Americans voted for him. And we're going to see whether he can fix it and whether he can keep his political promises. It's going to be tough with China, though, because both countries are interdependent economically on one another.
Yeah, certainly. Matt, let's talk about the cabinet. President-elect Trump has been filling it out recently. Any picks that stand out to you as the right person for the job?
Well, yeah, I think, first of all, you know, thanks. It's nice to hear Scott talk about the election the way he did. I will add that, look, to quote that great American philosopher Barack Obama, elections have consequences. And what we're seeing right now with the Donald Trump picks for his cabinet are people that are, one, radically different from the people that we've had by Joe Biden for the last 4 years, that are basically creatures of the Beltway. I think that we've got Mike Waltz as his national security advisor. We've got Senator Marco Rubio, who's going to make a fantastic Secretary of State. Gosh, I mean, we can run down the list. I think Tulsi Gabbard's going to be great as the DNI. Former Congressman John Radcliffe at CIA. There's going to be a lot of really, really good picks, but I can tell you this, for the American people, it's going to be a marked difference from what we've seen over the last 4 years under the Biden administration.
Matt, let's stay with you. I noticed you did not mention either.
What you asked for.
Sure, Scott, I hear you. Matt, let's stay with you here. I noticed you did not mention Gates. You did not mention RFK Jr. Let's talk about Gates. I mean,
well, you asked me to choose my favorite.
You are right. You are right. You are right. Let's talk about this quickly. Can we play? This is some of the reaction from lawmakers to Gates just this week.
Outstanding. Legal mind, tough. The left will have a hard time. He is fearless.
My reaction was, wow, I don't think he could get through the Republican House conference.
I know him to be a fierce fighter and someone who I would pity to be on the other side of.
This is an absurd choice, given that he has been outwardly under investigation by the House Ethics Committee, and then he resigns right before the report is to be released.
You know, some in the GOP likely still have a sour taste in their mouth after Gates's call for the vote that ultimately led to Kevin McCarthy being ousted as Speaker. In the end, do you think Gates is the right pick, and do you think he'll be confirmed?
I have no idea. I think that he's certainly controversial, but I can't tell you what Donald Trump realizes. He realized that from the very second that he was elected in 2016 and took office in 2017, holdovers in the Department of Justice torpedoed, to a great extent, his presidency. with the help of his choice for Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Look at Rod Rosenstein, look at all of the stuff with the Mueller investigation. So he is going to put someone in there, and whether it's Congressman Gates or not, who is going to basically strip the DOJ down to its roots and build it back so that the lawfare that we've seen over the last 8 years from that department is not going to happen anymore. I don't know if Gates is going to get approved. I don't know if he's even ultimately going to make it through to a formal hearing before the Senate, but I do know that what he will do, if he's given the opportunity, is he will show the serious flaws that exist in the Department of Justice and at the FBI.
Now, Scott, I want to go over to you with the time we have left here. Meanwhile, we see Speaker Johnson does not recommend releasing the ethics report. Your take on all of this?
Well, the Republicans traffic in sexual abuse, and the record is clear. Donald
Bill
Trump has
Clinton.
been liable for sexual assault. Matt Gaetz, there's testimony, if you believe the reports, that he was having sex with a 17-year-old, and they've supported people who've run for office who were accused of child pornography or being a pedophile down in Alabama. That doesn't disqualify you if you're on the Republican side. And so I don't have a problem with the disruptors. Actually, as a moderate Democrat, I think that's a good thing. But to be a disruptor, you have to have capabilities and competence, right? And you have to be able to lead with confidence. And Matt Gaetz simply is not qualified. He's barely practiced law for 8 years. And more importantly, he doesn't have the experience. You can put the ethics investigation to the side. He doesn't have the experience to lead 100,000 plus people and to make decisions on individuals' liberties and on the civil side. It is a complex organization called DOJ. Maybe you tear it down and build it back up, but you got to be surgical about it, because while these disruptors come into place, there's a powerful constituency in Washington that is going to push back, and that's called the bureaucracy. That's not a good thing, but that's reality. So we'll see, Mr. Trump. We'll see.
We will see. Scott Bolden, Matt Klink, always a pleasure to have both of you on, especially together. Thank you so much.
Thanks a million, Natasha. See you, Scott.